So, marking the second anniversary of the Feed Salone initiative, President Dr. Julius Maadabi on Friday, 31st October 2025, joined farmers, traditional leaders and development partners at the Cambia Mini Stadium to commemorate Sierra Leone's ongoing agricultural transformation. Now, the event coincided with the global observance of World Food Day under the theme Hand in Hand for Better Food and a Better Future. The occasion served as both a reflection on progress and a renewed call to action in achieving national food security. President Bill launched the 2-year Feed Salone Progress Report, applauding farmers, paramount chiefs and international partners for their dedication and partnership in advancing the country's agricultural vision. 2 years ago, President Bill launched the Feed Salone project with a simple but powerful message: grow what we eat and eat what we grow. As a nation 2 years on, are we making progress in rice production, declining food importation, and are local produce becoming more accessible and affordable? The president also unveiled the $105 million Livestock and Livelihood Development Project, jointly supported by the Islamic Development Bank, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, and the OPEC Fund. The project aims to enhance poultry and cattle production, improve animal feed systems, and expand income opportunities for rural households across Cambia, Port Loko, and Bombali districts. So this morning, to discuss 2 years of Feed Salone and the involvement of the private sector, we have Dr. Henry Musa Kpaka, who's the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. Good morning, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Phoebe, and thanks for having me again.
And also in the studio, we have a guest. We would give the moment to introduce himself. We apologize for that.
I am John Gaba Bangura, the Director of Sales, Marketing and Research at SBD, Lion Poultry in Makeni. And I am the former National Secretary General of the Poultry Farmers Association Sierra Leone for the last 4 years.
Let's start with the Minister, Dr. Kpaka. 2 years on after Feed Salone, what do we point at to say this is the progress or gains made over the last 2 years?
Well, thank you for that question and for that introduction. Indeed, President Bill was in Cambia alongside thousands of farmers, government officials, and our partners when he launched the second year Feed Salone report. I brought the report here. We also have it available on our website, feedsalone.gov.sl. You can download it there. And in that report, we capture all the many things we've achieved over the past 2 years since the president launched the Feed Salone program. You've named some of it already. The objectives of the program was, can we reduce importation of our basic staples? So you name rice, you name onions, you name chicken, you name eggs. Can we reduce importation of those? And the answer that we're seeing over the past 2 years consistently is yes for all of those things. And by so doing, we're contributing to the reserve of this country, because we're not now spending those hard-earned dollars to buy those things overseas. The other challenge that the Feed Salone program aimed to achieve was, can we export more of our cash crop and bring more forex, have a double whammy effect where, you know, we're importing less, but we're also getting more forex, and we're seeing that happening. We've doubled how much cocoa we export in this country year on year from 2024 to 2025. We're exporting a bit more of cashew from this country. Part of the goal of the Feed Salone program also was to reduce food insecurity as a first order priority, and we are seeing that. And this is not data that we collect. These our international partners, the BFP, they do this periodically on a quarterly basis, and we're seeing the trend lines go down. Part of what we wanted to also do was make food available and affordable And we are seeing prices, not just of imported rice, but of local rice also trending down. At the time when other parts of the year, you will be seeing these are lean seasons, this will be expensive. And we are seeing that going down. We have a scenario where we did not have onions in this country. If they were available, it would cost you an arm and a leg. And that's available now, and it's cheaper than imported ones. Similarly, for poultry, for eggs, it's available. We have every day there are new people coming into the space, right? And also the president just generally wanted people to go back to agriculture, to take agriculture as the foundation, because it is as the foundation of our economy, especially young people, to find a job and a career. And that we are seeing that across the country. And for us, just before we went to Cambia, we had an investment summit for agriculture, specifically for agriculture, agri-food. It was a big deal because it starts to mark the part where, 20 years on after the Civil War, immediately after the Civil War, people are giving supplies in displaced camps. Then you move from that to, okay, let's give them livelihood too so that they can. And now we're thinking we want private investment in agriculture for wealth creation. So we've moved on. And I think the logical place where Feed Salone will end is that part where you have private people, local Sierra Leoneans investing in agriculture, in agribusinesses, producing this food. They are making profits, they are making it available, they are making it cheaper. That's where this ends, and government creates an enabling environment. And already at 2 years on, we are laying the groundwork for all of that. So it was an amazing, amazing day in Cambia, where we also had our partners. And we're not done yet. We're not done yet because we have, of course, what we want to do is going to take years. But the foundation and the momentum and the answer to the call that our partners are doing allowed us to launch the, as you said, $105 million project for livestock, for which poultry is a big part. And we have quite a lot in the pipeline. Infrastructure work that we're doing across this country. November 30th, this is breaking news. November 30th, this month, the president is going to commission another bridge like the one we did in Matru, linking farmers to markets. In January, we are going to commission a youth agripreneurship innovation hub in Jalai University, where young people they will get practical training, they will get theory, practical, and link them with financing to be able to start businesses in agriculture. These are all things that are happening, and that if anybody had any doubt 2 years ago that one man, the president, can inspire a country to really move, to address its ills, we are beginning to show that. And that's what Cambia was about. That's what we've done over these past 2 years, and all these things that we're going to begin to show.
The goal of Feed Salone is for Sierra Leone to get to food self-sufficiency stage. That comes in two parts. You want the farmers, or those who have businesses and employment in the agricultural space, to make a return on their investment by getting customers coming through, but also to the people of the country. They want to be put in a place where the food is affordable. But now what we see is locally produced food is more expensive than imported food, whether it's fruits and vegetables or even poultry. Locally produced food is more expensive than the imported food. We're putting our people in the position to choose between buying what's affordable and what's ours. That bit is still a challenge.
It's still a challenge, not for everything, not for every food. I agree. For the main staple, rice is a place where we can start with that. Anytime in a country where your staple, that you allow that to be imported, and you've lost competitiveness, as they say, it's going to be a struggle. And my job is not an easy one as a minister of agriculture. Same, the president understands this all too well. When I talk to the Poultry Association people, and I genuinely from the president, as we want to make millionaires, farmers millionaires in this country. We're not saying that because that's how you create wealth that is equitable, that spreads across all at once. Because if you're a farmer, you have land and you grow it, you make your money. At the same time, we've got the masses that are in cities that are not farmers, that are not engaged, that want cheap food. And this is, in fact, those of us that study development, this is always a phase that countries have to go through when you're where we are as Sierra Leone. We are going to be at a point where, okay, we want to promote our farmers, we want them to make money, but we need to provide food for those, especially, and at the point in time as we're now seeing lots of industries that keep cropping up, youth in the cities doing service coming up. They're going to want cheap food to keep going. That the farmers need to do that, but we also need to make sure they also are happy doing it, making money in that sense. How you do that? First of all, you allow time is a big factor in that, but you're not going to automatically say no. Let's to reduce importation. Let's close it down, because you have to balance it. If we do that and our local farmers are not able to provide the demand that is needed, or again the price, then you make other people worse off. And so it's a fine balance that we have to strike. Rice is one where, as we see production goes up, we reduce the cost of production. That's why it's our main goal. We're getting right now maybe 2.5 metric tons per hectare. Other places in the world, they get 10, 8. We need to increase that. When people transport their rice, in fact, they don't transport it at all. It stays in those areas from where they're producing it to those markets. They pay a lot because the roads are bad. We need to fix those roads. That's why it's in our strategy. That's why we are doing that. Once we begin to do those, we can begin to see changes. But I have to say, having said all of that, when it comes to things like eggs, it's one where actually we have turned, every now and then, maybe some months, local egg is more expensive, but most times these days it's cheaper than imported eggs. Every now and then they can dump when it wants to go bad. They will do that. But what I will say, we need to educate our people, and that's a tough job, because some people are not that rationalization. They just want the food. It's calories. It's not about the quality. But those of us that have the opportunity to engage, we need to engage. If you buy eggs that is imported, that is taken, I don't know, the egg is laying, by the time they pack it, ship it, that's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, arrives in the port 2-3 weeks, put it in the shelf. We're talking 2 months. Whereas here, you lay the egg today, tomorrow or next tomorrow, is in the shop. There's premium on that.
Before now, there was a challenge with the quantity of eggs produced locally. It wasn't much in the market. But now you're saying the production rate has increased. So what other options are you coming up with as a ministry and a government to ensure that the farmers in that sector are protected, there's market for them? If they're producing more, and in some cases, as you've said most times, it's more affordable than the imported egg, why do we still have imported eggs coming? Because again, it's a business for people. Why do we still have imported eggs coming without even higher taxes levied on its importation? What are the strategies you're coming up with to protect their investment?
So let me, I'm going to talk about the strategies I'm coming up with to protect their investment, because they are my constituent. They're the ones that when I think about problem solving, they're the ones. But let me take another step back. Those people that import eggs into this country, they're also Sierra Leoneans. They also want to make money. They also have families. And the people that buy from them often will want to, when they dump, they're not even aware, right? So it's a fine balance that we must strike. We are doing many, many things, and let me begin to name them. This $105 million project will address some critical issues that they face. Feed is one of them, where maize, which is the main thing that they import, is very expensive. Those technical things around vaccines, import duties, all of those. So those are things that we are addressing, right? But yesterday, the Ministry of Finance, they are in, right now they're in Tokyo working on the budget. I was there. This is precisely the kinds of thing I say, okay, what can we do? I see it as a role for trade policy, as a role for imports, for duties on imported eggs, because I feel like we're coming to a point where they just need a little nudge to protect them a little bit. And everywhere that is a fair play. But we just have to balance it, knowing those people that import, these are also Sierra Leoneans. They want to make money, they want to create wealth, and they are catering to a market. We have that fine balance. I have their back. We've looked at their numbers. I was just with them last Monday. I spent my time with them. They had a national poetry day. I was there. We had a long conversation about some of these things. What can we do as government? And we're working on it, and I think we are going to do something, but we need to come. It's not just going to be just with them. We have to sit with them, the guys that import things in the market, import eggs into the country, to say, you all sit together. I know you don't have the interest to just import. If they give you fresh eggs, you're going to take it over an imported egg. How do we sit down and there's a steady supply of local eggs into your supermarket, to your customers, and then we can determine, okay, at this level, we can begin to put quota, we can begin to put duties to protect them, because we need to do that, because it's really them. What they're doing is what creates wealth. It's what has the multiplier effect than the importation.
Let's bring John in on the conversation. Paint the context for us, would you? Are we producing enough?
Well, first of all, let me give a background context so we understand where we are at the moment. For the last 2 years, of course, just for clarity's sake, the livestock sector in the Ministry of Agriculture has been the most deprived compared to the crop sector. But when this current minister came, we've seen a turnaround in all of this. We've seen policies in the livestock sector. We've seen the livestock sector being mainstream as one of those value chains that they will support. And we've seen concrete steps taken, even though there are disagreements here and there that we need to as well genuinely bring to the minister's attention, because when somebody is genuine about supporting the sector in which you operate, you owe it's a duty to help them with feedbacks that cannot be accepted, that are painful, but you have to bring it up to them so that they understand where we are. So at the moment, we've got a policy, sectorial policy, all thanks to the minister. It actually reflects the situation of the reality of the sector. Everything inside that policy would actually, the policy has gotten a target already for 2029. The target is zero importation. And the work plan is there in the sector at the back of the sectorial policy. And we've seen also in the funds set aside, because agricultural finance is pivotal in the food Salone strategy. It's one of the pillars that they want to lay more emphasis on, because farmers need funds. And there must be funds set aside for agric that are tailored to, they are tailored in a way that meets the needs of those sectors. Because the commercial banking sector considered the agricultural sector as risky to give loans to. So it's important that government as well set aside, especially for situations wherein we have most of our farmers their capital has been eroded by the activities of the importers. The minister made mention of that. Maybe we would have to discuss this on a much deeper, so we have an understanding. Coming to your question, of course there is no better day to become a poultry farmer in Sierra Leone as this moment, because we have a policy that has never been there before. And we have the minister that is bullish about supporting the poultry sector. He thinks we can even achieve zero importation before 2029, as the sectorial policy is saying. And the Food Salone strategy have already given us a roadmap, not just a roadmap, but the vehicle to arrive at the destination that we want to be at the end of the day, which is to the integrity of our food system, to ensure that our supplies are being protected, sustainability is enhanced, and then creates a ripple effects in the economy, as compared to the counterpart of, the importation. We've seen the substitution models. He's doing a great job with onions. Onions, of course, is one of those value chains that he prioritized: onions, poultry, and rice. And these are pivotal. And we've seen, even in the strategic objective, number 1, these are the targets that he wants to achieve zero importation by 2028. It's a long strategy, 5 years planned. We've seen the first CR reports. It's amazing. We are making progress in rice and then in the onions and in poultry. But where are we at the end of the day? We've seen a lot of investment. Sierra Leonean from diaspora investing into the sector because he has championed the face of the sector by way of joining us in campaigns, telling people to buy Salone, eat Salone. He has visited most of agricultural realities in the country, big or small. And we see him as a cheerleader, even though we have some feedbacks that would have to, so that it does not leave office and then notice that even though these policies were out there, but still the problems, the issues are still showing up themselves. So where we are at the moment, local capacity has increased. In 2017, the SOBA reports that was done, that was the most strategic, the most structured report that has been done that has done over the years in the poultry sector. It shows that the demand for poultry eggs is 260 million eggs. And then 1/3 of that is being supplied locally. It means around 30% of this is being supplied locally by then in 2017. And then the 2/3 is being supplied by the importation of eggs. So because of the environment, because government cannot come and solve all of those problems, this is the role of the private sector to come in. The role of government is to create the policies that would enhance the business environment so private sector can thrive and create jobs. And then the feed salon, one of the objectives is to create jobs. And those number of jobs are quite enormous, 35,000 jobs. And it requires the private sector to create those conditions for jobs to be created. So we have a huge capacity at the moment compared to what we used to have 8-10 years ago. We have a huge capacity. People are coming into the sector, investing. We feel like we've reached to a point wherein we have to have protection because other countries have done it. We have models even in Africa to protect local farmers, to thrive, to revamp for an economy. For a country like Sierra Leone or for a sector that is small, like this of the poultry sector, if you want to actually drive development and growth, you have to protect the local poultry sector. What we are saying,
you still haven't told me how much we're producing right now.
Yes, so from the recent statistics that we have done there, that was a quick survey because we have the register of all poultry farms in the country, with the exclusion of those that are not registered with the association. We produce safely 130 million eggs a year.
Okay.
And this could be more because there are other poultry farms that are not in this register from the report that we have.
How is that translated on the market, let's say?
Yes, so...
Is it sufficient for us?
Well,
as a country,
well,
what's the ratio as opposed to imports?
We have to be honest in this. We have not reached to the point of how is it called, sufficiency yet. But what we can tell you is that the production efficiency of the industry is improving. We're at 70% of production. It's telling you that we can compete safely with importation. What we need is a clear pricing policy, as we have for the rice. Now we see rice farmers are complaining, but it's because of the rice sector, the production efficiency is still poor. We have to accept this. It's 25%. The minister was just telling us 2.5 hectares is the maximum at the moment that we arrive. When we have potentials to push up to 8 tons, it's telling you it's around 25% of production efficiency. So it's difficult for them to compete. But for us, it's different because we are efficient. The industry is a little bit efficient. So it means if given the protection required, we can actually increase the capacity because the capacity is already there. There are farms, existing farms. There are farms that shut down because of the activities of importers. Importers bring in eggs once a while. They pump it into the market, drop the price down below the price that the farmers cannot sell at all, below the cost of production. I give you an idea of the cost of production. It's 1,080 leones. By then in 2024, when we had imported eggs coming down at 800 per cartons, you can imagine. Farmers have to sustain this price to sell. They have to buy feed. They sell. And some of them sold the birds and then buy feed, sold the bar just to sustain until we reach a stability point. The minister was with us. We went there. He suggested the campaign. We went to the campaign. He was with us. But then they continue with that practice until the time they feel it's okay, or until the time they feel they've already done away with their eggs that are bad. We have to as well point this out when we go to the market.
Let me help him. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
So just those numbers that he told you about what the local farmers are doing, about 150 so million eggs. That's about a little over a third, heading to 40% of what the market needs. What I want to see is we jump to a place where we're 50-55. When we're there, we can, by the way, we will add, already there's a 25% import duty on eggs coming into this country. My conversation right now I'm having with the Ministry of Finance is, when is the time we can push that to 35%? Because we have a policy where we want children age 3 to 6 in primary schools to get an egg per day. President Bill passed that policy. We need to fund that by getting money from, not only that, fund that by getting money from imported eggs, but also supporting these guys, right? So that number that he gave is that. But just to look at our numbers, I have our report in front of us. Importation dropped to 13.3 to 7.9 million between this, I mean, the year is not finished, 2024, 2023 for chicken. Okay. Eggs, about the same, not really changed. Just a tiny bit of a drop, but not really. But chicken is a big drop that we see that. And it's because we put a lot of emphasis. And I can tell you, next month, I'm going to go, or this month, maybe we'll be lucky, President Bill will come, but state-of-the-art poultry where everything, this is a 25,000 birds poultry farm. The aim is to do 100,000, where everything is mechanized. Even the feeding, removing the eggs, everything, we're going to commission that in Newton Poultry. There is another one, Emmanuel Safa Abdullah, he also has 30,000. Every day there are new people telling me big things that they want to do. So like he said, he used the word bullish. That's how I feel about this. And for us, what we want to do in the third year of Feed Salone is to create these local champions. Find one value chain, find 1 or 2 local champions that are going to anchor other farmers, invest in them, because that's when you can do it sustainably, they can make money. But I hear him completely. I hear the need, and I know there's a need for this. That's how industries that have taken up, that's how they've grown. You need to protect them. And they are a prime candidate for that. And we're getting to that point, and I'm going to push. Duties we will do. Quotas will be the next. Quotas are not usually very palatable in international trade, but this is something we must do. We have to do our own policies that help us and our own farmers. And balance that we have to do. Luckily for me, I understand these things because I'm actually an economist. This is my bread and butter. How you are going to, in my world, I say the general equilibrium. There's these guys on the one end of it. There are other people, the people that consume, and even these importers that come. And by the way, these guys are powerful, because they can lobby. They have money. They're very, very powerful. So that political economy analysis to come up with what's the general equilibrium state that can be sustainable is where we're headed. And that is what I think about when I think about these kinds of things, how we push this forward.
So, Mr. Let's talk about one of your biggest programs, which is the Tomabum project.
Yes.
You ask a lot of people, they will tell you, we haven't seen much, really. It's been 4 or 5 years now, but not much has been seen, actually.
It's been, 4 years.
Yeah, so what are the tangibles, if there are?
There are tangibles. There are tangibles, and I like this, that every time I come to the radio, people ask me about Tomabum. I have not gone after the rainy season. I'm going to go December 1. I will spend some time there. Okay. There are tangibles in Tomabum. We are building a 4,000 hectare irrigation scheme there. Close to 1,000 is almost done. That's the main crux of the work. But even without all these, people have been producing rice there. This year, over 2,500 hectares of rice was cultivated. When I'm there in December, I am going to harvest. Part of the goal for doing those 4,000 hectares of irrigation in Tomabom was to bring the private sector. Government will say, okay, we have done irrigation. We're not going to run an irrigation scheme, but we can partner with the private sector, PPP. Well before the irrigation is done, we have solid private sector people already there. Those guys, they are getting 6 metric tons per hectare. They have these big machines, big drones that are doing rice. They will produce rice, they will parboil it, they will bag it, and they will sell it. That's coming, and they will write it, they are made in Tomabom. That's happening. I think when you have these big iconic programs that take a long time, and that, to be honest, it's not completely it's donor funded, and donor funding has its waves in all the crises that we've had. By the way, this thing we launched, and then COVID came and that stalled, right? And then you bring contractors, and then they tell you, no, let's go redo the design. And we've passed that now. We're now moving. We're now moving. And part of the push that we're doing is one segment of that irrigation will be completed 2026, and people will begin to see that. But like I said, we have a massive rice mill built already in that space.
A lot of people actually criticize the irrigation process.
They criticize the process.
Irrigation, yes, it's a major problem.
It's a massive construction. It's I think you would not appreciate it. I'm not trying to take away anything from whatever people are, whatever ideas they may have. But what I have come to realize this year alone, I went there 5 times. I went there from when, even when I was a minister by there, I was there when this thing was launched, and then it got stalled, right? But this year alone, I've gone there 5 times, seeing the construction happening, seeing the progress.
Is Alimu Pavifort the best person you can find to do this project?
Alimu Pavifort is the...
He's not too knowledgeable in the area, that's the thing.
He is the contractor that presented the most responsive bid, and is doing the work there. Can we say he could go faster? Can he do other things? Sure, people are impatient, but he has taken his time, and he's pushing it. He's taking his time.
Well, he's more into road construction, you know.
No, part of irrigation work is canal irrigation. Is more than 80% of the work is concrete work. Which, if you go there, is concrete. Basically, there are 5 pumping stations. Big hoses, bigger than this hole, that you put a big pump in there, and then you make massive irrigation canal, like the main artery, and then you have branches, and then you prepare the land in segments of that. So, and it's in an area where, come June, July, all the way until November, you can't walk because the place actually floods. So there's a hard terrain. Look, can he move faster? Yes, I am on his case every day for him to move faster. And I've come to appreciate, because I've gone there and seen the step-by-step movement. And I'm also equally frustrated because really, I'm not one to come and explain too many things. When I come, I want to say, look what we've done. I want to say, check this out. We said we're going to do it. We've done it, right? So we're pushing. We will, like I said, I'll be there December 1, again, after the rainy season, to see the work that is, the irrigation construction that is ongoing. But like I said, we will harvest rice there. We will bag rice there. There's a massive rice mill that is built already in the place, that whatever rice that people are growing now that have been milled there, that was part of that project. We're just waiting for the irrigation to be done. Why irrigation? It will allow us to have a controlled farming, do multiple cycles in a year, which will allow us in the same hectare to double that production. So it's important that we do it. And it's also for government to say, here is what we've done as government. We want to give you private sector, come partner with us. That's why. Otherwise, people can farm there. People are farming there. People have been farming there, and we've been producing rice there. Part of what we need to do is produce that rice and bring it in. The private sector that are there are poised very much to do that in Tomabom.
Our rice in Sierra Leone, rice obviously is a staple food. Our rice is more expensive, the locally produced rice, than the imported rice. And when you talk to the farmers, they would tell you the cost of production in Sierra Leone is way up. And now they have to compete with government's decision to lower the prices of imported rice. That in itself is not an incentive for people to want to go into rice farming. A problem you tried to solve as a government now became double problem for rice farmers. How are you solving it?
We're solving it. There are two parts of this. One is on the production efficiency, what he said on their case, where for them now they're at 70% production efficiency. So for us, cost of production is that our yields need to be, we've done the math, we need to be at 3.5 minimum metric tons per hectare. And we're working on that. Before World Food Day, His Excellency went to Rokupo, our rice research station, where he released about 5 varieties of rice, each of which has the potential to do 8 metric tons per hectare. Our goal now is to get those into the hands of farmers immediately, and then that be widespread. We also have to work on the cost of inputs coming, and we do that. Fertilizer. Part of it is we don't produce fertilizer. We don't produce diesel. These farmers don't have, so all the cost to plow 1,000 hectares, if you do 1,000 hectares, you have to have machines. Machines use diesel. Diesel will take the price as is. Fertilizer comes. What we do, when they come at the port, they have every agricultural equipment, commodity that comes in, day-old chicks, all these things, duty-free, to allow to reduce that cost of production. So that's the one part of it. Yes, I hear you. Policy is a major part of it also. And I know, yes, the rice pricing, it was a formula, by the way, the rice pricing formula revealed that rice can be sold at a cheaper, and so that's happening. But two things are happening, and this I can tell anybody. I went to Vietnam when we were talking to rice farmers. They would say, this rice is 5 years old, this is 8 years old, this is this. The older the rice, the cheaper it is. I don't know where these guys are getting their rice from, but people like it. If they're giving you old rice and they're selling it for cheap, yes, we're going to get that in the country. So that for me means there's something we can do in that space, but we have to balance it. The vast majority of people, even the farmers, will buy this rice in some lean periods when they are waiting for their harvest. They don't want to buy it at an expensive cost themselves, right? But I hear you. This is the real champions that we want to make. When we sit, they will pound me, they will hound me, they will say, what are you doing? You're killing us. But again, we have to take a holistic view. Everybody, the keke rider, the bike rider, if he can buy rice for 600, you're not going to convince him, say it's old rice, it's not good for you, buy our own rice if it is at 900. But that's where we are. And our goal is reducing this cost. And when we're at a point, and by the way, with rice, we have about 70%, 72% rice self-sufficiency. The little that comes to the market here in this area is imported rice, and I think and that's what gets that visibility. And so we're at a point where we can, and I've been pushing for this, and we'll see. From here, I'm going to engage with the Ministry of Finance people. They're working on the budget, and maybe I'll go to Parliament, because we did pass in Cabinet that duty, that 5% duty, be added to make it 10%. It went to Parliament. It didn't succeed because parliamentarians are, if you add it to your rice, you're going to have a strike and all those things. It's a genuine fear. As far as they were concerned, it's a genuine fear. They did not want to have a crisis on our hands. That's everybody. It's not just one party, by the way. It's everybody. But we have this thing that we've said is our priority number one. And by the way, it's really what makes us sovereign and independent properly. And by the way, it's what creates jobs. And so I am very passionate about that. And we are looking at those ways where our farmers are increasing their efficiency, but we will address the policy issues also around rice. My colleague and I, the Minister of Trade, we've talked about this a lot. We will sit down and address this holistically. Again, it can be, it's the thing I don't want to have an engagement like, oh, well, the farmers and the importers, because in the end, the guys that are doing onion, they were the biggest importer of onion in this country. They decided they want to now begin to produce here. One of the biggest guys is going to do poultry. One of the biggest importers of eggs in this country day now. That's the kind of stories that we want. So we take one or two of these importers and say, look, here's an opportunity to grow rice. Do it. But if we say, no, these guys, they're bringing old rice, bad, like, it's not going to work. So we work with them together. And that's our goal, this next iteration, where we create these champions and addressing these issues head on together so that nobody say no. So we all have the numbers. We know what's possible. We know the give and take, what farmers can do, and we measure as we are bumping up our yield and production. We begin to lower that importation numbers that are coming for all these commodities that we're importing that we want to stop.
Food self-sufficiency is one thing, but building a healthy population is a whole conversation on its own. And the doctors would tell you much of your health is about what you really consume. Our eating in Sierra Leone, our eating habit is way unhealthy. From making rice a staple food, which doctors would tell you its own implications on your body if it's what you consume all the time. It has led us to a conversation many people are talking about. We need to look at diversifying our menu. Rice is staple food Monday to Sunday.
3 times a day.
The times that we even talk about other foods like maybe fufu, it's once a week. But there are multiple things we could utilize in Sierra Leone, as other countries do, as opposed to just rice. But then it's who drives this conversation nationally to get the people to understand the implications on their health of just doing rice morning, afternoon, evening, every day, and the options available and how those options can equally suffice or substitute for rice.
It's an excellent question about who drives the conversation. I have a role to play. You have a role to play. Ministry of Health has a role to play. The Sun Secretariat has a role to play in VP's office. It's a multi-dimensional part of this where no one ministry can do it, and which is why we're sort of organized in that manner. The reason why we talk about all these things, rice, onions, eggs, these are things we've been importing a lot, and they wreck our economy if we don't address it. And if we have our economy working again, creating jobs for young people.
And diversifying our menu to a point where rice doesn't become the only staple food.
Yes.
It also helps to reduce the pressure on the
importation.
importation of rice.
No, you're right. So in fact, in our strategy, we've talked a lot about rice, but cassava is a close second. Cassava is a close second that we push. We push orange flesh sweet potato. We push that. We support a lot of people doing plantains. Infant food, sesame, groundnuts, all these things is a main part of what we're doing for our nutrition. So if you look at our strategy, there's a whole element around nutrition as an outcome and how we approach it and what we do. Like I said, it's a lot of stakeholders. We can play our part in what we choose to invest in to produce, but also how it's consumed, how it's prepared, and all of that. Having said that, the challenge is it's phasing. This challenge that we are food insecure or not self-sufficient. We are not getting the right types or different calories that we need in the right proportions all at once. We don't have jobs for our young people, and we want to address. So for me, it's like taking it one by one. Let's make it available. Let's make these foods available. Let's address these caloric needs first, and then you have all these other things, and then we can, because at the end of the day, it's so hard to convince people to change their diets. When I can tell the story, when I went to school in America, I had a host family who was very kind, was going to take me out to dinner for the first time. He did not know, as the American former physician, did not know where to take me or what I would want. This is a place, a lot of Mexican food, all of those things. But read that we eat a lot of rice. And so he asked me in the most indirect way, he said, you know, when people move to a new place, they first start to speak like the people where they are. And then they start to dress like the ones. But the last thing they change is the food that they eat. And so I found a place for rice. Do you want to come? Anyway, so it is, for me, I know, I've said this, it's easier for me to push our farmers to increase the yield from 2 to 4 metric tons per hectare than to tell our farmer not to eat rice. I just believe that that's the case. It's not that I don't want to diversify. It's part of our strategy. We're doing it. In fact, so we have livestock. We have a program in the pipeline with ISDB, $40 million for cassava. That is going to also help really bolster that industry. And we want to industrialize cassava, not just the garis that we make, but really flour, all these other things, right? $35 million from EU for infant food and other diversified horticulture, vegetables and all these other crops. So there are things that we're doing in that space, but because you have to prioritize it, you can't do everything all at once. And the problem is, is so big, you take some and you try to laser focus. But I hear you, but it's something government is tackling, and there are institutions, like I mentioned, Ministry of Health, there's nutrition people there, some secretariats in the VP's office. We are doing it. We even are working to try to get some for micronutrient deficiencies, some bio-fortified crops that we grow with some micronutrients. The reason why we push the 1 egg per child is for nutrition reason, as well as creating demand and markets for the producers. So we're doing something in the space.
There are investors you brought in the country. What are the prospects from those investors' trip in the country?
Yes, so this conference that we did, as I mentioned at the top, really for me signifies the path where we think this is going to end, where it's not government that is, people are not, oh, it's in government, don't do what we tell. No, it's a private investor comes, sees a young man that has a poultry, invest in them, and they are making money. With or without what government is doing, that's where we want to go. Lots of prospect from it. It wasn't just a talk shop. It was half the day. They spent the other day in the field. These guys went, they saw like 4 or 5 agribusinesses in the field outside Freetown. They came back we're still collecting the data. Some of them, this was like government to government and business to business. We paired them with our local agribusinesses, 40 local agribusinesses. Before they left, 5 or 6 MOUs were signed. Some people are chasing to final contracting stage. I think we may be able to close 1 or 2 deals even this month as we speak for this for the flour mill that I'm talking about. So potential is there. They could see it, and the agribusiness people here felt like they've been waiting for that. They will ask government, but they want government to create a platform where investors come. These are big, medium, and small impact investors that were there to see what opportunities is in the Sierra Leone agri-food space. And we will see gains from that. I'll come back and report when there are real deals. I should announce you were there, the 10 million euro that went to Vista Bank, for which 75% is for agribusinesses. Folks like my brother here, the poultry sector, can go right now to Vista Bank to get money for that. Those are some of the things that we are trying to push, and also create an SPV so that if you have money as a private sector and there's a local agribusiness entrepreneur, that you can all work together in a transparent manner to fund a program where government creates the right policy and protection so that this thing grows.
Abdul Rashid Dakona on Facebook is asking, Mr. Minister, when will the Tomabom farm rice be available in our local markets? Since the project was launched in June of 2021, Mr. Minister, tell us about the project, please. Tell us in the nationalistic lens and not the political lens.
I'm going to Tomabom December 1. I'm going to harvest rice. First of all, government support farmers, the project that is doing it, but a private sector person, which by the way was the goal of establishing irrigation to attract private sector, they will be there. They will harvest rice. They will bag that rice and we will bring it here in Freetown. This January, we will see rice. We have been seeing rice. Maybe we just haven't called it Tomabom rice. It doesn't, but we will make that effort for that rice to come here in Freetown and for people to see it.
Abdul Rashid Dakona again says, Mr. Minister, the consistent late distribution of seedlings to our local farmers causes significant problems, including reduced crop yields, food insecurity, and financial losses.
Seed was not late this year, not from government. Fertilizer was not late. We have some projects that are delayed because projects, they have to give no objection, right? All these things. Some small project, but for the support that came from government was very much on time. We launched this campaign to have inland valley swamps across the country be cultivated. We engaged paramount chiefs. We gave them the inputs. So it wasn't late. It's the first challenge that I picked up when I came to ministry, and we're making every year we're making better progress. Now harvesting is happening. We have the little harvesters that we had. We dispatch those so that people can harvest. It's not going to be enough. People are calling every day. They want here, they want there. But the ones that we had, we dispatched it, and they're out there harvesting and helping people.
He's asking you what's happening with the Sierra Leone Regional Rice Value Chain Development Project, SLRRVDP.
That is the Tomabom project, which I've talked about already. That's the Tomabom project. That project to build irrigation. I can talk about that project. It's supposed to build irrigation in Tomabom. Again, it's a $34 million project funded by ISDB and Badia to build an irrigation in Tomabom, have a rice mill in Tomabom, 2 rice mills, then do the same, have 2 rice mills in Cambia and produce rice in Cambia. There are 2 rice mills in Cambia already. They are producing rice in Cambia already from the Regional Rice Value Chain Project. And the construction of irrigation is ongoing whilst the rice mills are there in Cambia. And I will make a video to show people when I'm in Tomabom, December 1, when I'm there, with these machines working, milling rice for people.
When you go to the schools and ask children what they want to be, on the list, you hardly hear them say to be a farmer. How beautiful is it, or financially rewarding is it to be a farmer?
It's interesting for people to know how much of an empire you can make from agriculture. And the reason why we've not seen a lot of interest into the agricultural space is because of these challenges that we are talking about. It's not that Sierra Leoneans don't want to go into agriculture. It's not that the government don't want to give the support. But always when we talk about the protection of local industry, they want to create a balance. Because I see their points, because they want to look at consumer welfare at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we cannot sacrifice food security on the altar of food safety. We cannot, because we have to as well look at the food safety, the health of the citizens, as you made mention of. So agriculture is profitable. It's an investment that is profitable. Once the environment is being prepared by government for them to thrive. As I've said earlier on our own capacity, basically, because we are pushing for this, we are pushing for protection, not unfair protection as local farmers, not unfair. We want to compete, and we feel like we can compete. What we are pushing for, one of the most important things that we are pushing for, is the pricing formula that is happening now with the rice farmers. What we see in the rice sector, the intervention of government is different. As he has just said, it has to be, we focus on improving the efficiency, production efficiency of the sector. We focus on the research. They have, it's part of their pillar in the, we have it part of our pillar in the Field Salone project, that is AgTech, trying to create seeds that are, resistant, seeds that are productive. Basically, it's a role of government to do this, so that farmers can be millionaires at the end of the day. Now, government, the president has called Sierra Leoneans to go into agriculture to feed Sierra Leone. But then most of these farmers are frustrated, like you've said, in the rice farm. But these are structural challenges. You cannot deal with them within a year. But we have to take a painful step. Like for us, our intervention is different. The government intervention is different. It's just to create transparency. We need to know the CIF value of a cartoon landed in Sierra Leone. We have done the research. We noticed that they cannot spend less than 1,200 per cartoon. Why are they selling at 800? Why are they selling at 900? It means they are targeting the local farmers to cripple the market, because it's a market that is huge. It's huge money. They have no interest of going back. They want it. So this is where government has to come in, be decisive to protect the market by creating transparency in the importation at the end of the day. Because we feel like the capacity we have, we can safely, even if quota system is implemented, we can safely supply the market. Because just quite recently we did the survey, 49 poultry farms were closed. The report was out here. 49. It has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with market failures. That we as private sector leaders, we have to bring this to government for them to take decisions on this. Because they cannot sustain to sell below cost. They cannot sell below 1,080 leones per carton, whilst the importers go down to 800, 900. For a long time. It means it's either that these importers are not paying their taxes, or it's either they are deliberate to spend the lost cash, they take it as investment to kill the local poultry sector. This is what we believe. And so we want government, with the support of the minister, as it is inscribed in the poultry sectorial policy, for us to have a compact, to sit on the table, have players on board. We look at the importation, we have the quantities, we look at the CIF value, what it costs them to up till Sierra Leone. So we know they cannot sell below the market price. Otherwise, we know maybe these eggs are bad. And most times, this is the situation. The eggs are unfit for the market. In most of those countries that are coming from, they are not needed. The regulations are very clear. 28 days, you cannot have an egg in the market after laying. You can't. Even in African countries, South Africa, Nigeria, there is a complete ban. Kenya, there is a commercial ban on importation. So we have to take these steps to ensure that we protect local farmers. We have to reach at this peak wherein we see government protecting us so that people don't feel frustrated. A lot of investment
What
is
has
coming
been the
in.
reaction of the ministry to this request that you're making?
No, this is a very welcome request. It's something early on with rice people, when I tried my very best, I had all the rice importers. I met with them several times. I have not done this with the guys importing eggs and chicken in this country. It's high time we did that. And we're going to do that before the year ends. I'm going to work with my colleague, the Minister of Trade, to make sure we can have a meeting where we bring egg importers and yourselves. But part of the reason why I want to do that is because I know if they have, by the way, I go to the supermarket every weekend. I always look for the local eggs, and the guys are always like, oh yeah, we get local tin today, we get local egg, and this they will show me. They want to get, when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, we get some of them supply us, but then they can't meet the demand, and it's not consistent, and it stops. So it's sort of like, let's all meet. Where are we? What can you take? What can you not take? Right? So that summit where we bring the importers of eggs, the local farmers of eggs and all that, we need to bring them together. I'll talk to my colleague, the Minister of Trade. We'll do that meeting before the year ends. It's something that we need to do. Part of actually what I wanted to do was to even do it before the finance bill goes.
It would be very much helpful if we have that before the finance bill.
It's okay. I'm still engaged in the Ministry of Finance people. I think we can still do something. We're still going to do something. But regardless of what is in the finance bill, that conversation is needed, which that proposition I think is apt. We have to do it. I worry about a formula. I think we can ask about CIF landed to know what that is and the implications.
We have all those data from an association point of view. It costs them around 35 to 40.
No, I know, but they will have to tell us, and they will have to sit with a competent authority to say, okay, this is what it is. I wouldn't put into a formulaic way, because rice and eggs, I think, is different the way where it comes from and all of that. There's like a global, for rice, there's a global index that you go to, just like for, you know, that sell like a metric ton of rice, this is what it costs. This type, you know, 25% broken, 100% broken, these kinds of things, right? 10%, 5%. You may not have that with eggs, so it becomes, but to know the CIF landed, I like that idea. That I will push my colleague. Part of all of this is Standards Bureau and Trade. They need to be checking. I don't suspect these guys that bring eggs bring only eggs. They bring lots of things all at once. So CIF landed is different. Whereas rice, it's rice full of.
No, it's X. If it's X, it's X because it's a reefer. It's a different container. It's wet.
Not mixed in others?
It's not mixed.
Okay.
It's not
we'll have that meeting.
fracture. So you know straight what are the
We'll
figures.
keep an eye on this conversation, obviously, to follow up and see how far this goes. But as we round off this segment, the Intercontinental Free Trade Area Agreement covers a lot of things, including the agricultural sector. The aim is to get African countries to do intertrade. But when it comes to agriculture particularly, we don't seem to be doing much of that. Sierra Leone, for example, how many countries in Africa are we importing things from? Some of these food stuff we import from Asian countries. Other African countries are at a stage where they export these. But we don't seem to be tapping into this opportunity put on the table.
That's an interesting question. There are lots of ways to think about it. One, to begin with, our immediate neighbors, maybe they are not doing enough for themselves, enough to export. That's number one. Number two, those guys that you're quoting, they prefer maybe when they export to Europe or someplace like that, they're going to get premium value. If you take Kenya, they are doing cut flour, coffee, all these things. They're not going to. You take Nigeria, doing cassava flour, it stays a lot of people. It's not enough for them. So part of it within the continent, and I've been part of these conversations as Minister of Agriculture with colleagues from the continent, is we're not nearly producing enough. That's why Africa still is a $1 trillion food industry, and 70% of that is still taken up by the Americas, the Europes, and all of that in importation, because we're not nearly doing enough. We should do it. We should definitely trade, which is why sometimes I get when there are issues around, oh, well, our rice is going to Guinea and this and that. Yes, we want to see our rice. On the one hand, when I sleep, if I sleep on this side, I can say, no, we want to see our rice. If you guys, if I've just left the radio and you pound me, where's the rice, where's the rice? And somebody tells me rice is going to Guinea, I'll say, no, that's so bad. But if I'm on a calm day, I'm thinking straight. That needs to happen, because in the end, when we produce more, our farmers are going to want market. And where they pay them the most money is where they can sell their stuff, right? So for me, is my take on that. I don't think our countries, our neighbors are doing nearly enough. I think the type of trade that is happening, though, that I don't like, and I'll bring this on cocoa. Sierra Leone, we are maybe third or fourth in the region for certified organic cocoa to Europe exportation. But our neighbors are not doing that, but they'll bring inorganic cocoa, non-organic certified cocoa into Sierra Leone because it's cheaper there. Then our people who buy it here, it comes through the border, then they pay the small premium, and then when we export it, we add that big premium. And then it goes to Europe, they do the test, and they say, oh, there are elements of fertilizer in this, and they say, no, the products from your country is not certified organic cocoa. So we lose by doing that. So in as much as we want trade, we need to be able to stamp some of these things out. The cocoa industry is actually reeling from this now, because a few batches have left the country where they have said, no, we notice it's not certified organic cocoa because we have cocoa coming in from our country. So our borders are porous, trade is happening. We need to regulate it in a way, and then we need to see the benefits of it going into the coffers of government, because that's what we want to see.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning, being part of this conversation. This is where we would end this segment, and we would follow up on the conversation on the request made by the poultry sector.